Yes, good morning. Back to you in the Surah saying LP India, C Engineer India. Previous video was disturbed. This is May 16, 2020. This is second video 97A in continuation to last video which was disturbed due to non-availability of signals. So I'm continuing in this video. These two videos are clubbed, that is line 1 and this one for today. This is second one. Just for information, I'm continuing with this. I've talked about COVID-19 in that, I talked about management in that, I talked about contract in that, and FIDIC was in continuation. So I'm continuing this in this video. This is not new one for today. This is a continuation of last one, and this is for information. So don't be confused as another video. Same in continuation. There's no other way out just to continue this because of disturbance of signals. And this is another certificate of same started in India. Institution of Leaders India certification. And I continue with that. I was talking about FIDIC, and I was talking about duties of resident engineer for explanations, and that is from my own book, which read by me in 92 to 96. So just for explanation purpose, I've already recorded that book and some other videos, and this is only for your information. Just to understand applications of these clauses, you must know actually what are duties. I'm just sandwiching that in these clauses. So I was talking about progress report to be submitted by contractor in FIDIC, and that was my point of condition. But before that, just for 5 minutes, I want to take. Yesterday, I explained about duties of resident engineer, because these duties must be understood before going further. And if you miss something, it's no way out. It's better to take practical aspect of everything. In our tutorial, you can say what should resident engineer do, because on behalf of this resident engineer works, and I said contractual and legal aspect. I was explaining that immediately signals were disturbed. So I'm just continuing that and said resident engineer is not a competent engineer as far as leisure management contract is concerned, but it's an agent of engineer for engineer and cannot exercise judgments but to exercise supervision control for job designed by engineer. A resident engineer, representative engineer cannot deviate drawings, or cannot act as an arbitrator, or cannot sanction extras, and cannot act as final judge in disputes regarding workmanship, and his signatures are significant to engineer only. Practically on site and according to general conditions of contracts for site operations, all responsibilities of control are fully delegated to resident engineers or representative engineers. This representative engineer is treated as a chief executive or chief person on site, and without him nothing can move, and multitude of problems are solved by representative engineer, but all on responsibilities of engineer in contract. Does it not look ridiculous? Does it not look ridiculous, as post carries so much attraction for engineers in field, but value in real terms is nil? Now, we will consider architectural engineering consultants. Resident engineer is a big job, and all big jobs must have architectural engineers with resident engineer to check works related to that discipline on site, whether conforming to design standards and no aberrations take place. Architect has to make certain workmanship of various finishing items per specifications being taken out and suggest and suggest or advise resident engineer on various aspects of alterations and in finishes in case engineer opts for making savings. Architect has to issue post-architectural instructions through project coordinator and resident engineer or representative engineer. Architect may be delegated to work as project coordinator for a particular contractor section for a particular section, contractor on job, in which case architect shall dispose all duties as resident engineer or representative engineer for that particular phase of, of job and report to resident engineer or representative engineer. Architect shall supervise works frequently and collect all information during inspection and from clerk of works COW and for disputes discuss with resident engineer for settlement. In case of absence of structural details and required urgently, project coordinator shall request structural engineer consultant for same and dispose these details to constructor through representative engineer with a covering memo. Similarly, all related details as required during execution shall be provided in construction contractor in post contract terms for purpose of operations and missed missed duration the design staged by engineer but are not susceptible to claims. Now B is structural engineer and consultant. Representative engineer on big jobs must have structural consultants with him to assist him in supervising operations of that discipline and make available any structural clarification details for additional works, other details required on site to scrutinize whatever proposal set forth by contractor agent. Structural engineer shall check all materials from structural viewpoint in case of being delegated responsibility as project coordinator also for a particular contract on job shall dispose all responsibilities of representative engineer and report to resident engineer for advice and taking instructions. Then civil engineer or civil works engineer or consultant. Resident engineer on a big project of complexes shall have within a civil works engineer looking after infrastructure discipline as well as road and surfacing operations on the job and also be on project coordinator for a particular contract on 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 same job shall see into all related items and act on behalf of representative engineer or resident engineer for contract looked after by him and report to representative engineer, resident engineer for advice and taking instruction whenever required. Mechanical engineer consultant. Mechanical engineer is required to look into disciplines related to mechanical engineering or assistance of resident engineer and shall check all machines and equipments submissions along systems and all drawing submittals for work. Mechanical engineers shall recommend all submittals for approvals and supervise all specialized operations on site in person as clerk of works or civil expertise for same and shall issue details as and when requested by contractor or resident engineer or project coordinator, and test all times, test on systems and office discipline are all are disciplines per contract clause. Electrical engineering consultant, a resident engineer or representative engineer shall have electrical consultants with him to look after electrical disciplines. Submittals as applicable on contract, supervise, issue should instruction to contractor, go to resident engineer, test, inspect, and all other duties. And plumbing engineering consultant, that is plumbing engineering consultant. A resident engineer shall have plumbing engineering consultant to assist resident engineer depending on size of job and check all submittals and test and instruct as applicable. Then there's quantity engineering consultant. Every representative engineer shall have quantity engineering consultant with that to investigate valuations proposed by construction constructor or contractor for works carried out on contracts every month to check extras, to advise for variation on cost to resident engineer, to make estimates for additional works required, to check all analysis of rates proposed by construction contractor or agents or required to check all analysis of rates proposed by construction contractor or agent for item claimed as extras on contract, to operate contract clause dealing with extension of time, imposition of penalties, to advise resident engineer on all contract conditions, to measure quantities on site, to to check material deliveries by contractor on site. Then experienced quantity engineers or surveyors are found to be very competent and usually designated as the contractor, non-company contracts engineer or surveyor claims survey and complete knowledge of contracts shall be a great help to quantify quantity, and the engineer will also be assistant. Okay, have to look after. Quality engineer has to look after. Okay. Now, yeah, I'll just stop here because it's very long. Purpose of my explanation has been that I just wanted to reflect to you duty of resident engineer or representative engineer, because you should know what that person can do. This is actually a responsibility of engineer which resident engineer does on behalf of engineer. That's why it's very important to know what resident engineer or representative engineer what you are when that boy or girl is not in room or they are standing. If sun rays comes, if sunlight comes to me, if sun still come to me, it gives me something. That's what this resident engineer is on site. That is of son of that is son of this project. It has to move according to what resident engineer answers. He accepts or rejects. That's what is beauty of this post. It's not directly responsible, but practically this person is powerful, and therefore we have to know it. So now we go to that one. We'll explain later all these posts because we cannot learn it one day everything. Now we was talking about progress report. Let's repeat from here to get some real advantage of what we are talking. This project report or monthly progress report. Well, I think my water quantity is less today. It seems that now monthly progress reports in format stated in a specification, and if not stated in a format acceptable to engineer, shall be prepared by contractor and submitted to engineer. Each progress report shall be submitted in one paper original, one electronic copy, and additional paper copies, if any, as stated in contract data. The first report shall cover period up to end of first month following commencement date. Report shall be submitted monthly thereafter, each within 7 days after last day of month in which it relates. Sorry. Sorry. Reporting shall continue until date of completion of works, or if outstanding work is listed in taking over certificate. Date on which such outstanding work is completed, unless otherwise stated in specification. Each progress report shall include as follows. Now what it says, A, this says you include charts, diagrams and detailed descriptions of progress. Then including each stage of design by contractor, if any, contractors, documents, procurement, manufacture, delivery to site, construction, erection and testing. Photographs and or videos recording showing status of manufacture and of progress on and off site. For manufacture of each main item of plant and materials, name of manufacturer, manufacturer location, percentage progress, and actual expected dates. Then we say chart diagrams and detailed descriptions of progress, including each stage of design by contractor, if any, contractors' documents, procurement, manufacturer, delivery to site, construction, erection and testing, photographs and videos, recording showing status of manufacturing program on and off site. For manufacturer of each main item, plant and materials, name of manufacturer, manufacturer's location, percentage progress, and actual or expected correct details of commencement of manufacture, contractors, inspections and tests and shipment and, and uh, all right, then commencement of manufacture, contractors, inspections and tests and shipment and arrivals at site. Then details described in subclass 6.1 contractors records and copies of quality management documents, inspection reports, tests, test results, and compliances compliance verification documentation, including certificate of materials. Of course, then certificate of materials and list of variations and any notices given by either party under subclass 22.1 to a notice of evidence. All right, then we go further, not to stop here. Then a list of variations and any notices given by either party under subclass 20.1 notice of claim. Then health and safety statistics, including details of any hazardous incidents and activities related to environmental aspects and public relations. Composition or comparison of actual and planned progress with details of any event or circumstance which may adversely affect. Then aspects on public relations and comparisons of actual and planned program. And then, you know, comparison of actual and planned progress with details of any events or circumstances which may adversely affect completion of of and then you see after this health comparisons of actual and planned progress with details of any events or circumstances which may adversely affect at completion of works in accordance with programs and time for completion and the measures being to be adopted to overcome this failures. However, nothing stated in any progress report shall constitute a notice under a subclass of these conditions. Now, this progress report actually is very important document for purpose to measure progress of site in its entirety. Here, progress doesn't mean only physical progress, means supporting progress as well is very important. I say, as I said, management, project management. Project management is not a term only. Project management cannot be just be considered a term of systems. It's something integrated together, having many systems together. You know, there are many people who say, I am not manager, I am management engineer, and I am whatever position I am. It's nothing to do with our activities, but whatever best can be from financial angle, quality angle, time, and every angle. Inculcate a report on the site from a site can send to head office. Now we are talking of progress report. Monthly we have to submit. You think as they say we submit? No. Every day we write report, daily report. In that daily report we say this is name of project, this is budget number, this is activity we planned today, this activity we did today, this is percentage we received today, this is temperature today, this is humidity today, we have so much labor or workers or compressors or staff record here, workers record here, we have subcontracts, this subcontract record here, where activities ongoing to this disciplinary activities and they record today. Same way we repeat our own system, electrical, etc., mechanical. No, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. I say once activities means all activities, what we do that day or in that month, we take extract of progress from our total record, we check all our 30 days record and enter into in a way that we can change them to 4 or 5 records. It is nature with us and progress report shows your work for whole month. How you control it? How means contractor. Contractor has to represent on papers or through videos or through projections complete data of site that transpired, that activated on site from day 1 to 30th day. What is the status of total project? That is to be represented on that. What is the status of this month of progress? It is represented on that. What is the status of last month? We have to state it on that. It is to be analyzed properly and presented properly. Each building, each activity wise, we have to see this is project today's status or this week's status, and this is last month's status. We have to represent on that each activity of every building or structure on every way. That, for example, excavation, this was planned, this is done, this was present. Or we write done this month, last month, this month, as like last month, this month. And you see difference this month. Advance or online or back, behind, lagging behind. Means plus, minus or zero status. Whether it is on line of schedule, this means there is no delay, zero delay, or it is lying behind schedule, there is delay of so many weeks or months, or it's going ahead, means this is advancing. Like that, excavation, foundations, superstructure columns, or superstructure slabs, or some other item, or interdisciplinary items, all items of importance are written there on that activity list on your program, Primavera, or whatever you are using, and then time applied to them. You have to study your book you have written, means whatever you will found, you have to write each activity every day. You mind this? If you mind this, you can't write this. This has nothing personal, believe me. You have to write that progress for every building that month. So you have come brought down from your diary or daily job record. This as I said, activities, you will say name of project and weather, temperature, and activities ongoing or activities planned, and all that, and you say who visited site and what machine arrived and what machine left. Whatever actually is going on, you have to write that. What was the temperature that day, humidity that day. It just takes 5 minutes to write that. If you engage one of your helper to help you, then all your activities are completed. That is physical action. Then you have to come on to the safety, and safety actually should be before this. When you start activity, you can fix before that safety. And about safety report, you have to see what is safety management and that. If you feel there is no harm in that month, there's no, yes, nominal cases would be there. For example, they can be because of safety, and there's a fraternity should be extended. Once you have completed the safety management, you have so many accidents happen. That person fell from there. That person was admitted to hospital. This reporting was done to site, to engineer, and this result is nothing. We provide all facilities to that person in hospital. Then we shifted that person to camp, and in camp facilities were given, and then readmitted to hospital. All these type of reporting to be, and we provided insurance to that and this, or what was the reason that this accident happened. All that we have to write. And similarly for quality, we have to write. We submit so many method statements. We some approvals. We some materials. Yes, material status, that is very important. Material submission, approval, and delivery status. That's called material submittal, approval, delivery status. You are right for all materials that approved every month. You have to keep that as a part of that progress report, and that's material approval, submission approval status, and delivery status. ETA is called our expected time of arrival. So you can say material submittal, approval, delivery, or procurement delivery status. You have to update that all time, and all other whatever business you are doing in that you have to write. Means selling state, that is said, this is the industrial state, purchase state. You cannot decide them, and you should not take it because only minority or no minority. No one is minority. I am majority here. That's it, and that's why I'm saying all these reports of all disciplines must be provided, because we are not working on this for sake of just our record, but for sake of representation to our client, that's called engineer and employer. We should clearly write that what's the reason for something, and then we say, once we qualify this for a few months, we simply say, oh, so, and then once you finish all this reporting, let us say there are 10 buildings. You make forms of 10 buildings. Then you have to make valuation also for 10 buildings. Each valuation 10 buildings. I have a pro forma. I did that. Maybe I put somewhere in postings and everybody care for that. That's very my own concept from an actual sheet. That should be filled for every building, and all recoveries and progress and costing should be done on that. So you have to take into consideration safety first of all. You have to report safety, you have to report quality, you have to report materials, you have to report physical progress. And if you think that there is a problem on site, you have to represent that also yourself. No one should be there to report about you. You have to reflect your weakness in that report. That is called professionalism. Yes, if we are ahead of program, we should justify that we are ahead of program. If we are on schedule, we have to justify we are on schedule. Or if we say no, we are lagging behind the schedule, we are so many weeks behind or so many months behind, you have to write that. And if you are behind, you have to justify why you are behind, and you have to answer, you have to present how you will recover that period. Recovery of lost time is very important. If you justify that you have enough resources, enough human workforce, you have working hours, you have available machines and materials available, all is soon arriving for that item, you can take cover of that and you can control that risk. In that case, you will be considered you subject to this material and that activity to be in time that your project is lying. You have to prove that materials arrive in that time. Everything will be done in that time. If you can do that for items, and then you say, these are our special information if you want to, or then the consultant will ask you, what is your own standing, and you should be on lines of both parties, or as, or you can say, your cover up is there. You can cover up yourself. That's very important. So progress report I wanted to explain to you. And moreover, before submitting these progress reports in its beginning, you have to have a committee meeting with with engineers person who is responsible for evaluations. You may do it with him, or your quantity engineer would do. It's up to you or up to that, whether a resident engineer does it with you or some quantity engineer does it with you. You together both have to agree on percentages at different levels of each building. You understand that? Don't go into each and every item done on site or lump sum contracts. You want, okay, up to foundation finish level, we can accept say 10% or 15% of this building cost or this contract cost. In columns, we can say up to this percentage, or in columns and slabs this percentage, depending on to how to easy doing your work, how to make it more easy, more comfortable. So you can say in 4 or 5 or 6 items or 10 items control complete building, all buildings like that, and landscaping work like that, or something else like that. You can minify number of parts depending what how many bills you have on that bid. You may have number of bids, number of bills, BOQ, block quantities, and depending upon that, you can find variation or acceptance levels. If you reach up to this level successfully, we achieve so many percentage. If you and then further, you can find further percentage on that by interpolation or extrapolation, depending upon you. If the best is the interpolation, this cost, this total quantity, RCC quantity, formwork quantity, steel quantity, block work quantity, or something else. You can take that quantity cost and say, if I see up to second floor, this one done, this is your total money you can pay. This is one part which you have to indicate, and then you have to club them together in a way on overall progress of that one. And that is to say I have 5 buildings or 6 buildings. What are the buildings? I have fixed a lump sum price for whole X amount. I would say for this building, this is 0.5x for this building, this is 0.2x, this is for building 0.1x for this building, whatever point is there. You think by your weightage, financial weightage based on estimation of cost of that building, you can give weightage to each building, and that weightage is final. Once you agree with them, you use that weightage until there's a big change, and based on that, you can further allot percentages on various activities of that building. So I have given 50% or 40% for these buildings, and there are 10 fractions in that building activities. I will divide this 0.4 proportionately to all those. And when this is for all structures like that. And once okay, foundation for this building is over. This building has 40% cost and foundation is at 10%. So 40% means 40 cost. 10 is 4, so foundation is 4. Half 40, you have to take into 5, 6, 7 items. You have to allot them. This way, you just enter percentage for this item, and your all entries will move on Excel formula, because you have all filled in there. What is recovery of that 10% recovery? You will take into that of each building and also of gross, automatically will formalize that. You understand what I'm saying? It's not difficult. It's just calculation. If you understand mechanism, you can find answer to calculation. It's so easy. For each building, you collect all cells, bring to all individually, then the result to this gross sheet where weightage applies. And then recoveries, you have to give 10% recovery or whatever is mentioned contract, then recoveries are to be there. And then you may be giving advance as secured advance will for materials procurement side. Then it's a batch for every month. You calculate complete deliveries till now updated deliveries. Means say out of X amount, you are giving 0.05 or 0.02x this month advance payment. Whatever advance payment you give on each building or total material. If you are thinking, no, we take all total material connect together. So don't worry about all the things. You apply that fact into gross or into abstract costing, abstract bill. You apply that recovery, and next month you recover that. You change that. Okay, this we last time we allowed this advance payment. This time we recover that. In paper you can recover that, and you then post another one that this month we are giving this. So total up to date you can do this month. Previous you recover 0, you went 0, again you give that and recover again that month. Like this, you give an advance, means advance is going against the material, but you recover next month whole despite it didn't pay. You will not pay this advance, you have to recover on your bill. So that was his main topic. And then quality of that bill is, means your progress report ultimately speaks that 3 statements. One is, this is total progress of this bill, this project, this is progress here, and against plan one is this. So it would tell this is in advance, or this is lagging behind, or this is online. Then you can say safety, good, bad, or excellent, or very good. Quality, according to contract or not according to contract. If it's not according to contract, then you have to write where is problem, why this is not happening, who is responsible for that. So why should you pay if you are not following quality? And I have already talked about HSES. You have to take all actions against that and record accordingly. You mention this accident happened, don't avoid that. And quality criteria, don't. Yes, there were so many stacks seen on site, so we are taking these measures, and we are working together on site, or we are going to make submit. Maybe I will submit some method statements for remedial actions where NCRs have been open or not open, depending upon that. So safety is in, quality is in, progress is in. This means when progress is in, time is in, cost is in, safety is in, and quality is in, ultimately you can say these are my remedial measures to recover time, or if I'm not able to recover time, contractor is going to submit a recovery program if engineer accepts that. This is sole purpose of progress report. Every month you have to do like. It's first month that is difficult, other months you will not find much difficulty because you know totality of that product. That's what progress report is. Actually not progress report, it's contract performance report. Entering last performance will be there, but this is every month performance. We submit that in form of progress reporting. This is the totality, practicality I'm telling. I'm not going to what FIDIC says or say what experience says is this. How to chart it out, because FIDIC is not charting it out. We have to chart it out. FIDIC is saying few lines, submit this, submit that, submit this, submit that, but practical angle we have to find. That depends upon what sort of project you have, what project you have in buildings. Same report cannot be applied on roads, some cannot be applied on flyovers, some cannot be applied on sea work. It depends upon what sort of work we have. Same cannot be some where very complex buildings, high rise and others, where every item is involved. That's what's more important, something else. This point you must understand. It's not that you can just depend on someone who is staff and do it. You have to involve yourself on whichever part of your office and which office you use. It's up to you how to calculate this. Because all these points shall be on record, and you will have to reflect your correspondences, technical correspondence with subcontractors. Also in this meeting, that's called technical and coordination meeting. This is progress review meeting and this includes your technical and coordination meeting that is related to services, building services, all kinds of services. So that is done sometime one week before that meeting, and that is chaired by particularly contractor, because this contractor has to work on that each item wise for all services. Means it's a self-created management. It's not a university-created management. You have to see facts of project and reflect them in your way, not in a way some books tells. Books is a guideline only. It says that you have to do this, do this, do this, but how to do this always remains an outstanding point, which you have to generate, because there is no one to give you. Maybe first time you make one error, next time you remove that error. You make another error, then next time you remove that error, so that it goes on like that up to 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock, I don't know, and then people are ready to sleep. This point we should understand very well, how to present our reporting system. And if you understand this first time and you keep up on all contract documents, you can involve yourself in arguments with everybody. No, this is what specification says. No, this is what contract says. No, this is what this contract condition says. No, we have to comply by particular condition, because general condition cannot be followed. We are following particular conditions. And when some calculations demanded of extension of time, or some calculation demanded something else, or some other percentage based on quantity, you are person there as having complete information. So whatever person does in under company, that person will please follow this. That's brief about project report I gave you. So it's in a brief only. I had some documents long back, used to do them, but now that got no meaning because there is work every time. And it's also not that easy as we are considering it easy. It's not that easy. It's time consuming. is time taker. It's the Korea fill no thanks. Okay. So progress report is not difficult. I cannot say that this is difficult or this is mathematical calculation or this is trigonometry. No, 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 that's not that. It is common sense. You are projecting what has happened on your sites in 30 days. That's it. If you have updated the record, it's easy for you. If you're writing communications to engineer and coming its control is very good for you. You just go to earth some files for 2 and 3 days, you are getting draft or your draft of your project. There's no way that should there. It should be there. Only then you can go. Otherwise, you don't go to a meeting. Nobody says, oh, this is not the meeting here. Why come? Now, progress report is done. Maybe we explain later on in further details. Now I am holding it now because I will explain to requirement. Now we move in this. Let us see which point we have covered. Let us say if I missed something, I read it again. It says that reporting shall continue until date of completion. So every month you have to do it of works, and or if outstanding work is listed in taking over certificate, date on which such outstanding works is completed, unless otherwise stated in specification, back each progress report shall include. Now, what it includes, let us see we have done or not. Let us see what we have talked of. It says charts, diagrams, detailed discrepancies of progress, including each stage of design of contractor, if any construction document, procurement, manufacture, and is there a document? Then it says that charts means S curve, we have to include so simple. Means I could not remember that. S curve or progress diagrams simply means you say X axis and this is Y axis. You can say this is time on X axis, week one or month one, month two, or week one, week two, week three, like that. And on ordinance, you I will say this is an X axis and this is a Y axis for progress percentages, and then you can say cumulative like that. So because of cumulative, and you have to use both charts. One is for monthly achievements and one is for accumulation. One S curve is for monthly progress and one should be for total. So you can say total time is this and this is achieved. So you can say this is starting from origin and this goes exactly from origin and moving deflection away this and that. So this is same thing as we study on Earth. So you can study up and analyze all these things and use them during the but now the next one is, so this is what it stays now. Photographs, videos. So this you can take that. That's a big deal. You have to number them and record them and refer them to items if you wish. If you want to represent that photo, a link to the report, you can link that number of photos, put some number and where this building comes. You can write this item, this item, this item on important information. That's right. Well, next one is photographs, and then it is a manufacture of each main item of plant and material. So we have taken that into our material submission, approval, and procurement delivery. That we have considered. That's not a big deal. Then we say details described in subclass. Okay, contracts and records. We say copies of quality management documents, inspection reports. So all we inspect, we got QA document there, ISO 9001, and there is based on everything. We will procure that here and not there. This doesn't look very nice. So then we go to which one? So this is all this quality management documents, and documents we can provide when you are saying safety and mechanical, whatever actions we have taken, whatever has happened, we can provide progress, but that's not the deal. And Sunday is a horror, also is a troubling day for us. So let us see, we provide complete loose details of that doctor, and where let him be, let that worry, and then it's not easy. It is, the sun goes, it's the questions goes, the fever goes, what a shame. All right, now is about health and safety statistics that we have covered in health system and comparisons of actual and planned progress. We have done that. So this is what we are giving more than that. So there's nothing wrong in that. So will continue on this progress talk later on. Now security of site. Oh, security of site. We have to be smarter for that. We have to weigh it of that. We have to be strong for that. Because it's question of material. It's question of everything. I don't want my material to be stolen. We have to see so many factors here. Security of site says contractors shall be responsible for security of site. Yes, we are responsible. Who's saying I'm not responsible? I am a contractor. I'm responsible. Contractors shall be responsible for security of site and for keeping unauthorized person off site. Okay, we will not allow any person who doesn't belong to site to enter site. This means is that B, authorized persons shall be limited to contractors' personnel, employers' personnel, and to any other personnel identified as authorized personnel including employers, other contractors on site by a notice from employer or engineer to site contractor to contractor. Now contractors operations on site is 4422. What does it say? Contractors shall confine contractors shall confine what it says about security. Contractors shall confine contractors operation to site and to any additional areas which may be obtained by contractor and acknowledged by engineer as working areas. Okay, so what we say of security to any additional areas which may be obtained by contractor and acknowledged by engineer as a working progress, working working areas, working areas. In this, all areas were to secure, only authorized persons shall be allowed, in which our personal, employer's personal, contractor by a notice from employer engineer to contractor. So we can say all personal employers personal and to any further any further uh, then we say then contractors operation on site, that is 422. Now there's no current here, no power here, it's gone. I don't know, they're just putting off power all the time. Like it's hot, maybe more than 30. Let me see what temperature is. Uh, I haven't maybe I missed this website, no problem. Okay. So contractors operations are, it's not hot. Well, contractors shall continue, contractors shall confine contractors operations to site. Contractor shall confine contractors' operations to site and to any additional areas which may be obtained by contractor and acknowledged by engineer as working areas. Working areas. Contractor shall confine contractors' operations to site and any additional area which may be obtained by contractor and acknowledged by engineer as working area. What's talking right here? Contractor shall take all necessary precautions to keep contractors' equipment and contractors' personnel. It's not working. There's no ventilation here. Ventilation here. Well, if I open this end, dust will come. Leave it. Contractor shall confine contractors' operations to site and to any additional areas which may be obtained by contractor and and acknowledged by engineer as working areas. Contractor shall take all necessary precautions to keep contractors' equipment and contractors' personnel within site and these additional areas and to keep them off adjacent land. So this is site operation. Now it's also further explained that at times at times contractor shall keep site free from all unnecessary obstructions and shall properly store or remove from site any contractor's equipment subject to 417 contractor's equipment and oblique or surplus materials. Surplus materials. Contractor shall contractor shall promptly clear away. Then you can say so I'm continuing by saying that minus 15. At times, contractor shall keep site free from unnecessary obstruction and shall properly store or remove from site any contractor's equipment and to surplus materials. Good. Let's come. Let us start. All times contractor shall keep site free from unnecessary obstruction and shall properly store or remove from site any contractor's equipment which is class 417 and or surplus materials. Contractor shall promptly clear away and remove from site wreckages, rubbish, hazardous waste and temporary works which which are no longer required. Promptly after issue of a taking over certificate, contractor shall clear away and remove from that part of site works to which to which taking over certificate refers. All contractors' equipment, surplus material, wreckage, rubbish, hazardous waste, and temporary works. Contractor shall leave that part of site and works in clean and safe condition. Then we saw, then I say, now contractor shall promptly clear away and remove from site any wreckage, rubbish, hazardous waste, and temporary works which are no longer required. Contractor shall leave that part of site and works in a clean and safe safe condition. However, contractor may retain all I can then say probably promptly after issue of a taking over certificate, contractor shall clear away and remove from that part of from that part of sites and works to which taking over certificate refers all contractor and equipment, surplus materials, wreckage, rubbish, hazardous waste, and temporary works. Contractor shall leave other. Hmm. So says contractor shall leave that part of site and works on it in clean and safe manner condition. However, contractor may retain at locations on site agreed with the engineer during defects notification period such goods as are required for contractor to fulfill obligations under contract. And then we go further, and that is promptly after issue of a taking over certificate, Promptly after the issue of a taking over certificate, contractors shall clear away and remove from that. Okay, so it says that's however contractor may retain location on site agreed with agreed with the engineer during the NP. Now say 423, that is archaeological and geological findings. Archaeological and geological findings, which is also very important from contractual viewpoint because this involves nation and national property. It's very important point. Maybe people are not clear, some people. Archaeological and geological findings. All fossils, coins, articles of value or antiquity, and structures and other remains or items of geological or archaeological interest found on site shall be placed under care and authority of employer. Contractors shall take all reasonable precautions to prevent contractors personal or now I am reading again because there should be no gap. No gap, there should no gap, no problem. All fossils, coins, articles of value or antiquity, and structures and other remains or items of geological or archaeological interest found on site shall be placed under care and authority of an employer. Contractors shall take all reasonable precautions to prevent contractors, personnel, or other persons from removing or damaging any of these findings. Contractors shall, as soon as practicable after discovery of any such finding, give a notice to engineer in good time to give engineer opportunity to promptly inspect and or then it is now contractor shall, as soon as practicable and after discovery of any such finding, give a notice to engineer a good time to give engineer opportunity to promptly inspect. Now we go further. Notice shall describe finding and engineer shall issue instructions for dealing such as Archaeological and subcontracting. Now, subcontracting. Subcontracting, we are talking. Contractor shall not subcontract. Contractor shall not subcontract works with a total accumulated value greater than work with a total accumulated value greater than percentage of accepted contract. Work with a total accumulated value greater than percentage of accepted contract amount stated in contract data, if not stated, whole of works or any part of works for which subcontracting is not permitted as stated in contract data. What is subcontracting then? Contractors shall not subcontract works within with a total accumulated value greater than percentage of accepted percentage of accepted percentage of accepted contract amount stated in contract data, if not stated whole of works. Any part of works for which subcontract is not permitted as stated in contract data. Contractor shall be responsible for work of all subcontractors for managing and contracting all subcontractors' works of all subcontractors for maintaining and coordinating all subcontractors' works and for acts of defaults or of any subcontractor, nor subcontractors, agents or employees if they were acts and defaults of contractors. Contractors shall obtain engineers' prior consent to all proposed subcontractors except suppliers of materials or subcontract for which subcontractor is named in contract. Well, I'm not convinced as supplier of materials. No, no. Where contractor is required to obtain engineer's consent to a proposed subcontractor, where contractor is required to obtain engineer's consent to a proposed subcontractor, contractor shall submit name, address, detailed particulars, and relevant experience of such a subcontractor and work intended to be subcontracted to engineer and further information which engineer may reasonably require. If engineer does not respond within 14 days after receiving submission or further information, if requested by giving a notice objecting to proposed subcontractors, engineer shall be deemed to have given his or her consent. Contractor shall give a notice to engineer not less than 28 days before intended date of commencement of each subcontractor's work and of commencement of such work on site. Contractor shall give a notice to each notice to engineer not less than 28 days before intended date of commencement of each subcontractor's work and of commencement of such work on site. Well, Matthew point is not very clear on this FIDIC. Matthew vendor is also approved. I don't know what's given here. 5.2 nominated subcontractors. 5.21 is definition of nominated subcontractors. In this subclause, nominated subcontractor means a subcontractor named as such in specification or whom engineer under subclause 13.4 provisional Terms instructs contractor to employ as a subcontractor. 522 Objection to nomination. Contractor shall not be under any obligation to employ a nominated subcontractor whom engineer instructs and against whom contractor raises reasonable objection by giving a notice to engineer with details supporting particulars no later than 14 days after receiving engineer's instruction. An objection shall be deemed reasonable if it arises from, among other things, any of following matters, unless employer agrees to indemnify contractor against and from consequences of matter. Big deal. We'll explain later on. It's not possible to work like this. A. There are reasons to believe that subcontractor does not have sufficient competence. Is one point. Means there are reasons to believe that subcontractor does not have sufficient competence, resources, or financial strength. Subcontract does not specify that nominated subcontractor shall indemnify contractor against and from any negligence or misuse of goods by nominated subcontractor. Nominated subcontractors, agents, and employees or subcontract does not specify that for subcontracted work, including design, if any, nominated subcontractor shall undertake to contractors such obligations and liabilities as well as will enable contractor to discharge contractor's corresponding obligations and liabilities under contract and indemnify contractors against and from all obligations and liabilities arising under or in connection with contract and from consequences of any failure by subcontractor to perform these obligations or to fulfill these liabilities. So this is a good point actually. We have to repeat it. What it says, objection to nomination. Contractor has been asked by engineer, has been instructed by engineer, this is a person to whom you have to use for this work. Now, I say I have a problem with this as a contractor, that there are some reasons I'm not going to use this contractor because these qualifications are not adequate. There are some problems with this. Now, what paragraph says? Contractor shall not under any obligation to employ a nominated subcontractor. What says? What it actually says, let us see. Says what it says is I have a problem here. Stop now. Contractor shall not be under any obligation to employ a nominated subcontractor. Yes, there is no obligation. It says whom engineer instructs or what's mentioned and against whom contractor raises reasonable objection by giving a notice to engineer which details supporting a particular no later than 14 days after receiving the I get as a contract again instruction today from my engineer. This is nominated subcontractor. You have to use this for particular item and I have time for 15 days. I can file my objection in 14 days. No, I don't accept this, and I file objection to engineer and say that it says an objection shall be deemed reasonable if it arises from among these things, among the things, any of following matters which are as follows, unless employers and the employer agrees to indemnify contractor against and from consequence. Now what is this? These points are number one, A, there are reasons to believe that subcontractor does not have sufficient competence, resources or funds. Number one point is our subcontractor that which engineer is proposing, engineer is nominating that this person is not competent first of all. So there is no question to use him. It's not having any resources, it's not having financial strength. Even competence is enough. Forget resources and financial strength. If person is competent, we can use him. Maybe I provide resources, but the question is competence, resources, finance. These are three reasonable points which I find that this person is not having, this organization is not having. I don't accept him. This is one resource. And number two, subcontract does not specify that subcontract my document of subcontract does not specify that nominated subcontractor shall indemnify contractor. So I want reasonable protection from impacts of the subcontract which this subcontract does not specify, and this means this subcontract does not specify that nominated subcontractor shall indemnify contractor against and from any negligence or misuse of goods or goods by nominated subcontractor, agents and employees. So I'm not finding any protection, or you can say I'm not finding an indemnity from this subcontract that this contract shall not, shall not abuse material or shall not this not to cause any negligence on work or on goods, or can say this contract agents or employees means I am not sure about this subcontract, very frankly speaking, anyway because of incompetency. And they go on further, then the subcontract does not specify that for subcontracted work including designs, if any, nominated subcontractor shall undertake to contractors such obligations and liabilities as will enable contractor to discharge contractor's corresponding obligations and liabilities under contract and indemnify contractor against any from all obligations and liabilities arising under or in connection with contract and from consequences of any failure by subcontractor to perform these obligations or to fulfill these liabilities. So this is that competence still stands here because it says contract does not specify, subcontract does not specify that for subcontracted work, including design, if any, nominated subcontractor shall undertake to contractor such obligations and liabilities as will enable contractor to discharge contractor's corresponding obligations and liabilities under contract and indemnify contractor against and from all obligations and liabilities arising under or in connection with contract and from consequences of any failure by subcontractor to perform these obligations or to fulfill these liabilities. Now, payments to nominated subcontractor is 5.3, and this is contractor shall pay to nominated subcontractor amounts due in accordance with subcontract. These amounts plus other charges shall be included in contract price in accordance with subparagraph B of subclause 13.4. Provision sums except stated in subcontract. Now, uh, then other one is now then 5 to 4. This is evidence of payments. Evidence of payment. So evidence of payment now. After I think evidence of payment, we will shift for tomorrow. Yes. So this is evidence of payment. Now, before issuing a payment certificate, which includes an amount payable to a nominated subcontractor, engineer may request contractor to supply reasonable evidence that nominated subcontractor has received all amounts due in accordance with previous payment certificates, less applicable deductions for retention or otherwise, unless contractor A submits this reasonable evidence to engineer B. B1 satisfies engineer in writing that contractor is reasonably entitled to withhold or refuse to pay these amounts. 2. Submits to engineer reasonable evidence that nominated subcontractor has been notified of contractor's entitlement. Then employer may, at employer's sole discretion, pay directly to nominated subcontractors part or all of such amounts previously certified, less applicable deductions as are due to nominated subcontractors, and for which contractor has failed to submit evidence described in subparagraph A or B above. Thereafter, an engineer shall give a notice to contractor stating that amount paid directly to nominated subcontractor by employer and in next IPC or intermittent payment certificate. After this notice shall include this amount as a deduction under subparagraph B of subclause 14.6.1 IPC. This is payment means higher in totality you can say, because this payment to be paid to nominated subcontractors, this provision has been made in main contract, and main contractor by force or by preference or by agreement or by whatever means has to use this subcontractor because it's nominated by engineer employer, must be paid according to work done. There may be reasons that payment can be withheld. It depends upon circumstances, but payment has to be made. If payment is not made by contractor due to any reason, engineer has full authority to release that payment, but at engineer's risk or employer's risk. Question is, such subcontractors which are nominated are very few, and this particularly applies to those items which are very specific. This is not general provision, this is rare provision. Main subcontractors are those who are appointed directly under approval of engineer and employer by contractors. Those are main subcontractors. This part of nominated subcontractor is very few. Rarely means you can say, sometimes means you can say very specific application applies on, and amount is also not that big. So actually people do not take it very seriously because it's not very common, and if there is, we treat same as we treat as some other contractors, some subcontractors and our vendors. But that's another point I'd like to add in this, as this FIDIC says that there is no need of vendors or material supplier. At this point I'm not agreeing, because vendor supply, material supply is also approved. We submit all materials for approval, And those approvals include materials from vendors, because those vendors are authorized vendors, not unauthorized ones. So today, what actually we have gone through is very important part of contract, and that contract part is that we first talked of your this what I say we talked about this how resident engineer does its duty. Yesterday also I talked a part, and before yesterday I talked a part, because it's a long list of resident engineer to have duties which must know as application on behalf of FIDIC. Just knowing contract or sub clauses or clauses is not enough. We have to know applications of that too. And if you don't understand applications are related to those conditions, those clauses, then means we miss something. We can't have clarification. We must. It's possible to get clarification of this. Just like I'm saying, we are talking of this subcontracting. Contractors are employed. If we are not having our own specialty in general contracting, then they employ hire some approved contract subcontractors of particular services. For example, this is electrical services or mechanical services or lift services or skilled services, or you can say SCADA services or CCTV services, or many other specialties which are not common, for which there are approved lists of vendors in general who are authorized by authorities or regulatory bodies of that country. Those persons are elected, proposed directly by contractors and approved by engineer or by employer. Those subcontractors are very common, and general EME we used to call them in past electromechanical contractors, now air conditioning ducting contractor, HVAC contractors, and chair supply contract, furniture supply. There are so many furnishing doors and windows contracts like that. Some are approved, some are like very very petty cases. We don't consider subcontractors. Some important one where design is involved, just like is HVAC ducting, mechanical contractor, lift services, electrical design services, where technical engineering is allowed. Means engineering is first engineering is done. For example, we are giving electrical contract to someone, means we cannot simply say because you have electrical license to give. It's not, no, it's not allowed like that. It's big building, and you have to know engineering. You must have electrical engineers with you. They work with you. We have to see how you work. We have to see how we'll calculate designs, load designs of that electrical supply, balancing of electrical working, and everything is to be considered. This you have to know bus bar and this bar and circuit and MCB and CB and DBs, SCB and DBs, all, and key terminals, ATS and transformer package units, all that. Every compatibility of electromechanical system means not only compatibility but also interfaceability. All these points must be known to these professionals who call themselves electrical mechanical contractors or subcontractors, all those specialty contractors. That's to be saying, it's not simply because I am a general contractor, I can do everything. No, I can't do. I have that potential with me. So these are people who are specialist subcontractor, we can say. They're not ordinary subcontractor. There are so many contractors in civil also. We have to use them, like foam concrete, ready mix supply. All these are approved ones. They're not approved ones. Tiling supply, tiling applicator, waterproofing applicator, epoxy applicators, so many and so many. So there's a long list of subcontractors as well, long list of vendors as well. All these vendors and long list of these subcontractors and applicators, all those must be projected on material submission status, material submission and delivery status schedule. It's very important document to be taken care of. And if you don't do that, you miss something. That point is very important here. It's not simply that we read condition and we know this and we do that. Conditions are there. But persons who wrote those conditions, maybe they have not exposed themselves to experience. That's a possibility. So you have to understand what condition is there. Simply reading conditions and working in field is not possible. You have to analyze that condition, even if it is from FIDIC. You have to understand that and how it goes. Then you have to mold it to yourself. You have to extract that condition from that, and you can say modify it for your job. That is called design of contract conditions, drawing of contract document. It's also not that easy. You feel, oh, there's a FIDIC document, you take it, include it on your contract and do it. No, it's not going to work that way. If you like copy paste, you will miss and you will miss something. It's same thing, you take drawing, a copy paste on some other one, and you say, okay, this project new one, this drawing is now start work. It doesn't work that way. Never. Every work is analyzed if you want to avoid problem during execution, during prosecution, or else you'll find problems. Original is original. Idea is idea. Convention is convention. Practice is practice. I don't say that everything you do, but where you expect problems, you will pose in future, you'll face in future. You have to solve those problems now, and that's what you have to do. So we have talked of all this definitions. We have talked of many things like contracting, like engineer's duty, contractor duty, and this your responsibilities, and also take up later on that we have to understand gradually if you can go in depth. And I'm not sure that when I'm publishing these videos on Facebook, maybe these are reaching to those people who understand Facebook or who don't know even what is Facebook. But it's important. I want to use this medium for, I'm actually for these videos, I'm not leaving to Facebook only. I am connecting it to Twitter, I'm connecting it to LinkedIn, and I also connect to SAFE, Instructions Forum of India, and I don't find any other way to connect it to. If there is something where people are available who are interested, they can open this and read them. I know on Facebook there are no engineers very qualified in this. There are not very few only, not all. And if they're all, I'm not finding that response. I think I'm talking every day about COVID issue, about these workers, these our industrial workers who nobody is interested in that, as if they do not belong to this country, as if this problem is not ours. This means there is no engineering community on this Facebook, or if they are here, they are not ready to understand this problem. And if they are not, they forget that if these people do not work here, if these people do not work in nation, they stop working, they do want to do agriculture, then your industries would collapse and everything will collapse. So many considerations are there that we use in our analysis and everything. And analysis is always important, remember, until you analyze something. Now, in this case also, as I'm telling you, now what actually now is pending is, now we are going to talk of later on after this progress and earnings of subcontractors. Then we are going to talk of staff and labor. So you may say that is 6.1 is staff and labor point is there. After that, engagement of staff and labor, rates of wages and conditions of labor, and recruitment of persons and labor laws. Now, if you in this country abrogate these labor laws, it means you are conflicting with international requirement. That's the point we understand this. For example, it is engagement of staff and labor and rates of wages and conditions of labor and recruitment of persons and labor laws and these working hours and also these facilities for staff and labor, and health and safety of personal personal and contractor superintendents, like that. All these clauses are going to come, which require contractors personal and then contractors records, disorderly conduct, and then this is key personal and all that. Then plant materials, workmanship. So my intention is that you cannot simply blanketly ban something because international community is watching you. It's not that easy. You can you can pull rights of someone because you are happy with that. Maybe public are unable to understand, cannot understand that. You're bound not only by your laws, You are bound by human relation laws, human rights laws, contract laws. You're bound by everything. And if you say that I want to take 12 hours work from these people at same rate. I don't do acts and don't provide any rest. I consider slaves. So I would think investors will come to you and you think people will